coverage you can count on. You're watching Sports Extra.
There was no Detroit Lions game today because the team will play in prime time tomorrow on Monday Night Football. That game is at Lambeau Field against the Green Bay Packers. And can you believe the Lions are favored to win? That's because Green Bay will be without its two-time MVP quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who is sidelined with a broken collarbone. Minus Rodgers, the Packers just aren't a very good team. So Detroit is a 2-point favorite, even though the Lions come in on a 3-game losing streak and haven't had much success at Lambeau Field over the last couple of decades. In fact, they've lost 22 of their last 23 games against the Packers there. Many people think this is a must-win game for the Lions, but head coach Jim Caldwell says every game is a must-win.
The next game is always the biggest game of the year, simply because it's the next one. And that's how we try to keep our focus and not try to add or inflate any more into it. And we focus in on the things we can control. We can't control anything that's happened to us previously, but what we can do is we can have an effect on what happens to us here in the future. And that's where we try to narrow our focus and scope.
The Lions and Packers will kick off on Monday night in Green Bay at 8:30 p.m. I asked you on the WNEM Facebook page if you think the Lions will win tomorrow. Sasha is one of the few people who has faith in Detroit. She writes, yes, they'll win easily. They'll turn last week's field goals and failed drives into touchdowns. She says 38-17. I think they'll win, but man, if they win in blowout fashion like that, that would be a big-time surprise. Jeff is like many people who doubt the Lions, saying, is this a trick question? Of course they won't win. Not with Caldwell as head coach. Hey, he's taken them to the playoffs in 2 of the last 3 years. Dennis kind of sums up what it's like being a Lions fan. He comments, always hope for the win, but I never expect them to win. Still have a lot of work to do before I start expecting wins from this franchise. Well, after Michigan State's win over Penn State, this Facebook post I made went viral. It's reached over 100,000 people, has over 1,600 likes, and has been shared over 400 times. Here's what it says. As Matt Coughlin was walking off the field after celebrating his game-winning field goal to beat Penn State, I noticed a little piece of paper in his hand next to his helmet. I asked him, what is that? He said, it's a prayer card Coach D'Antonio gave me before the kick. I added, how cool is that? And now, as the late, great Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story. On the field, I went on to ask Coughlin what prayer is on the card. He said that he hadn't read it yet. He was planning on reading it when he got to the locker room. Now, after the teams walked off the field, MSU head coach Mark D'Antonio met with the media, and I asked him if he would share the story behind the card. After the game, Matt had a little piece of paper in his hand. He said it was a prayer card that you gave him before his kick. He said he didn't read it yet. Can you tell us when exactly you gave it to him and what was the prayer on there?
Yeah, I can tell you that. 7 years ago, I said, anybody know what Psalm 91 says? And Kirk Cousins, 7 years ago, beating Penn State for the championship. Said, yeah, I know, Coach. And it says, tread on the lion and the cobra and trample the great lion. And that's what was written on it. I just gave it to him and said, take it easy, don't worry about it if you miss it. I didn't say anything about missing. I said, don't worry about it, no stress. Kick the ball through.
Psalm 91 is known as the Psalm of Protection. It's mostly used in times of hardship, and in the Greek translation of the Old Testament, David is attributed as its author. Pretty cool. Michigan's win last night wasn't as big as the Spartans, but it was still pretty good. The Wolverines are now 7-2 after a 23-point victory over Minnesota. U of M had 2 players rush for over 100 yards. Karan Higdon put up 200 yards on 16 carries, while Chris Evans went for 191 on 13 totes. Each of them scored 2 touchdowns.
I was so excited and, so happy to share that moment with my boys like Chris and Kareem, the O-line, Mason and all those guys. Like Chris said, to see all that hard work pay off, it's a team effort. And when we're meeting goals like that, it's not just me doing it, it's all of us doing it. I didn't get there by myself.
In the NHL, the Red Wings visit the Edmonton Oilers. First period, Wings attack the net with a bunch of shots. Justin Advocator pokes it home for a 2-0 lead. Later, some hustle from Andreas Athanasiou leads to a great chance. Anthony Mantha to Martin Ferk. He scores. Detroit would add one more, and they would win 4-0. Peter Mrazek makes 36 saves. He earns his 11th career shutout. And we'll be back to talk more sports after this, including details on tonight's induction ceremony at the Saginaw County Sports Hall of Fame. Let's strike up the band for some preseason college hoops. Central Michigan hosts Northwood. The Wood hanging tough early. David Jelinek wide open underneath for 2 of his team-high 13 points. T-Wolves lead by 6. And that doesn't sit well with Cecil Williams. The step-back tray falls. He scores a team-best 18 for the Chips. They get within 1. Then Gavin Peppers, with a man in his face, knocks down a triple. He had 15 points. Central would pull away late and earn an 81-71 victory. SVSU's men's soccer looking for their first conference tournament title in 5 years. Scoreless in the first half. Davenport's Noah Fedorov in the right place with his right leg. Just gets it by the goalkeeper to make it 1-0. SVSU would actually outshoot Davenport 15-6, but they wouldn't be able to put any shots into the net. They fall in the GLIAC Championship 1-0.
Very proud of the team to get us into the NCAAs, but at the end of the day, we've got to start turning these big performances into wins, and we played well enough to win this game today.
And as you heard from Coach Wagstaff there, yes, even though SVSU lost, they will advance to the NCAA tournament. They'll find out where they're playing in the first round coming up tomorrow night. That'll do it for Sports Extra. Take care, and thanks for watching.